from some stars, but this is not electromagnetic wave. This is just he detected some small signature of different kind of wave. Sometimes they call longitudinal wave, some call scalar waves.
Yep,
they are not
scalar waves.
Investigated. They are not enough investigated.
Right, Bearden talks about that. Also, the Kozyrev talks about Nikolai, and he also did a little bit of work in torsion as well.
Torsion field?
Yes.
You mean?
Yeah.
Torsion field is another area that is developed in Russian science, but torsion field it is not just so much connected with this longitudinal wave and hyperlight propagation.
Right,
but there is some experiment even in the journals. There is for existence of faster than light propagation. But there are very few experiments and not enough elaborated technologically.
Yeah, well, we're only human.
Yeah.
Tom, do you have any?
I wanted to sort of go a little bit off the topic. There was some information that came out recently by yourself about a Russian scientist and his idea of what happens to comets and the type of material that's within the comet. Oh, that's
right. I read that article. Very good.
Yeah. In fact, I met this Russian scientist. He is Viktor Kotev in 2006 when I was in St. Petersburg presenting reports in the Space-Time Gravitation Conference. I think this was 9th annual conference of this society. I think every 2 years. It is from the time of the Soviet Union, and it is a very interesting report. And this scientist, in fact, he claimed that the comet's antimatter, initially even I didn't believe of this, but later he sent me one article. Later, when I had the time, I clearly review his argument and article and then start to investigate. I found also from my theory, initially I didn't develop this option, but I see one option of the process of formation of the galaxy that is, in my theory, described pretty in details, and it is leads to the very well-defined conceptual phases, that there is a possibility to make a whole galaxy from antimatter. And if it is from distance, you could not distinguish. It could provide the same spectral signature, you could not distinguish. But because in my theory I mentioned that the galaxy has own life, then we could not exclude that some portion of the previous or from other galaxy had been left in our galaxy. That's antimatter. And this antimatter is not exactly the same that in the particle physics they claim antimatter. But this antimatter is must be pretty stable unless it is not in contact with its matter. But even in contact with the matter, that is, this was strange, and academic Kotev says that annihilation doesn't take right away when the two substances in the solid form. They have to be in ionized form. Then the annihilation takes very, very violent feature. When I started to investigate the comets that pass near the sun, the comets that's in fact bombarded by NASA and other, in fact a lot of features, in fact in the favor of this hypothesis, a lot of features.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really good.
And what was the he had given some warning to the Russian science fields as to what the effect may be when the comets
in fact
testing?
In fact, if his hypothesis is right, the warning is very has to be taken very seriously. And what we see, for example, the comets passing near the sun or falling on the sun, there is a few features from the Soho satellite, I think one show in this article, that comet passing near the sun, that there is a huge violent interaction between the tail of the comet and the solar wind. And you know that the solar wind is just protons and electrons, and if the comet has an opposite, it very violent annihilation process. Also, many things that puzzle the scientists, they found even in some comet X radiation, they could not explain this. Even I have been investigator of the Halley comet in 2004-2006. There was something strange, but it was was not explained why the jets from the comets exit with the super sound velocity. It is very strange phenomena, and even comets far away. A lot of things now, if you start to investigate the comets, you think, and they puzzle the scientists. So a little bit different that the comets contain antimatter, because the violent process becomes if antimatter and matter connected together in the solid form, and then the comets start to bleed, because the insertion, if the comet is from the antimatter inserted at matter, there is a process of the bleeding and throwing the jets, and this hit the comets, and it's very strange. The comets so far from the sun, they should be in very, very low temperature, but they have a temperature like our room temperature. It's very unexplainable effects.
Right, and this theory goes to helping to explain that.
So the fact that they bombarded some of the or at least one of the comets could have a potential problem for us here, no?
In fact, Hoteyev expressed his warning about the experiment for bombarding the comet, because he say the result of this bombardment that the thousand pieces from particles to a few kilograms has been thrown in different directions, and they are difficult to track, and some of them may fall on the Earth's atmosphere.
And
what
can occur if antimatter were to come in contact with us?
Oh, it depends of the size of the particle. But you know, there was one book that was released the last year. It is from Vladimir Rubtsov. It's about the Tunguska event, and he described very detailed almost the century-long research on the Tunguska event that happens in 2008. And this event has been investigated very seriously from many scientists, and recorded signature there is, and they prove that this has been this could not be a meteor. This could be a comet body that exploded about 5 kilometers above the ground, and they estimated the explosion to be between 20 and 50 hydrogen bombs in that time.
So
very
it's
powerful.
So it's possible it could have been some sort of fragment of anti-gravity.
Not anti-gravity, antimatter.
Antimatter, pardon me.
Yeah.
We got anti-gravity on the brain. You're gonna have to excuse us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So if a size of let's say a kilogram piece were to fall on Earth, what's the potential damage that it can cause?
I could not say that. I don't make a calculation about this field. Just the envisioning. But another thing is also that there was one comet about, I think, 8 years ago, fall, I think, Ayakuta comet. I don't remember its name. It fell on the Jupiter.
Yes.
According to the previous calculations, the effect that show was thousands of times larger than expected effect.
Yeah.
Shoemaker Levy?
Yeah, Shoemaker-Levy comet.
Yeah, it's true. That caused an amazing effect.
At the same time, meteor fall on the Earth, and they don't cause such problems. Meteors for a few kilograms, they don't have such problems.
Why is that?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because the meteors, they are from the matter. They are not antimatter. They are the same matter like ours. So there is not an annihilation process.
Okay.
Well, that makes sense, though.
No, it does. There's certain meteors you have to be cautious of.
Yeah, it's true, because I mean, look at all the meteors that hit, almost, every planet, moon, Mars, and ourselves, with the years. And yes, a large enough chunk can cause obviously a fairly big problem, but it's not total annihilation. But when
annihilation,
when that one went into Jupiter, it seems that it distorted even the red spot, which is humongous.
It's enormous, and the Jupiter they consider almost a sun-like body.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Body, yeah.
Exactly. So getting back to the UFO subject just for a moment. Do you suppose that there has been work done in this, in governments and work on say retrieved crashed vehicles, that they have been doing work in this and are just sort of keeping it to themselves, or what's the case?
In fact, the information I know, it is just leaked by the internet. But summarizing this information from many sources, I think that this is a very interesting subject, and they perhaps worked. They worked, but from all the information that I read, they investigate the problem by the empirical way, by reverse engineering. It is without understanding the underlying physics. And without understanding the physical principles, in fact, the research and development is 1,000 times less effective. In fact, with my understanding, I was able to make experiment that NASA didn't make such experiment for $100,000. I know some published experiment from NASA. It is a huge difference when you know the physical effect. For example, before Faraday invented the electromagnetic induction, could somebody make occasionally a motor, electrical motor? No, nobody. But after that, now one schoolboy at 10 degree take could make electrical motor.
Right.
Because knowing the physical principle is a huge advantage.
And then there's Tesla as well, and the work that Tesla did, and his contribution to does his work in any way connect to what you're doing, or have you read Tesla's work, and are you inspired by it?
Oh yeah, I read a lot about Tesla work. In fact, I was so interested because Tesla was one of the, not only of the first that investigated this kind of different waves that they call scalar wave, longitudinal waves. And he investigated with the presumption of understanding that there is an ether. He has his own concept of the ether. That is, I think, is very close thinking when you start to thinking in this way. And that's why he succeeded to make so many inventions.
Which is why
plasma was his, the plasma, the luminescent light, the neon lights, many things are his inventions.
Right. So he started out on the right path with the right way of looking at things, which is why he was so successful.
Yeah, he was so successful in this field. And but in fact, he envisioned. He also envisioned propagation of the electrical power. Now it is this way is not suitable because this kind of propagation of longitudinal waves, in fact, it invokes a lot of electromagnetic noise, and we could not use this way now.